so I just saw Searching, and it was surprisingly great. Basically, this is a film that is presented in a similar style to Unfriended, except it's not a colossal piece of shit. Pretty much everything we see takes place from the perspective of a computer screen, but unlike Unfriended, where it uses that as an excuse to present things in the laziest way possible, this film uses it as an opportunity to be as creative as possible. Throughout the film, we see the story being told on different operating systems as a way to express passage of time, and everything we see going on from a technical perspective is just so incredibly detailed and well thought out. This is very clearly made by people who actually understand computers, which is an unfortunate rarity when it comes to films that heavily feature computers and technology. The only real thing that I can complain about when it comes to the technical aspects of the film is that the mouse movements don't look very realistic, and that's really not a big complaint at all. There is a very firm grasp on not only how the internet works from a technological perspective, but how people on the internet work. When it comes to what angles and perspectives you can show from this medium, both metaphorically and literally, it feels like this film thought of everything. Each new idea introduced into this film is not just some excuse to move the plot forward. It instead uses it as an opportunity to explore concepts and people. There are so many different minor characters in this film that many could easily consider to be insignificant, and despite only getting glimpses of their lives, whether it be through social media text posts or video conversations, there are so many instances where I found myself being overjoyed with their inclusion. There are characters and perspectives they included that made me think, yes, there are people that do that, and it really shows that they put a lot of effort into coming at each scene and idea from a variety of different perspectives. The perspectives that they include in this film are ones that most films would not even consider. The variety of different websites that are used in this film are all used perfectly. The types of content that are featured on these websites that do drive the plot forward are the exact types of things that you should expect to find on those websites. It is so incredibly refreshing to watch a movie like this without constantly being annoyed. And not only that, but everything that we see has some sort of excuse as to why we're seeing it. Granted, some excuses were better than others, but 90% of them I had no issue with whatsoever. There was very clearly a lot of thought and care that went into structuring this film, and it is something that I think deserves appreciation. Surprisingly, the film had a musical score to go along with it. There were maybe a few moments where it felt potentially unnecessary, but for the most part, I think that it really added to the experience. This isn't the type of film that is pretending as though this was some sort of found footage that was discovered, rather than seeing the entire frame of the screen for the whole film. It's edited in a way where we're seeing whichever parts of the screen are relevant to any given moment. It is less of a bare-bones found footage film and more of a polished cinematic experience, and the entire presentation of this film is more or less an exercise in creative limitations. With the film presented through the perspective of a computer screen, what can you show and how can you show it? What are we able to see, and what excuse is there for us being able to see it? There were only a couple moments in the film that had me wondering why it was a video call and not audio, but the overwhelming majority of this film is pretty logically sound in that sense. The performance from John Cho was mostly great. There were a couple moments where I thought he could have done better, but it didn't ruin the experience for me. Some of the minor characters could have been better performed as well, but once again, nothing that ruined the movie. There are some moments that felt a little bit over-dramatized, but nothing that was terrible. There are also some moments where the presentation felt a little cheesy, and I kind of wish that a scene near the end of the film was handled a little differently. There's a character that explains everything, and the way that it happens feels kind of dumb, I guess. There are also some iffy points when it comes to the logic in the story, but overall, this movie was surprisingly intelligent. It was effectively dramatic, the story was very well paced, my expectations were subverted multiple times, I was invested and I cared about what was going on. It's a film that I very thoroughly enjoyed. It was unique, it was creative, it was exhilarating, and it had a great sense of humor, and I would recommend that everybody check this one out and see for themselves. I'll be buying this one when it comes out on Blu-ray, and I'm excited to see it again, and I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. It's probably closer to an 8 than a 6, but I still think it's probably a 7.